Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals Public Review Session for July 21st, 2014. We begin the special order calendar. Decision items. Item number 1, 391-80BZ, 2525 Kings Highway, Brooklyn.
Any issues with this, Commissioners?
Nope. No.
Okay.
Item number 2, 775-85BZ, 13333 Brookville Boulevard, Queens.
Any questions or issues?
No.
Okay, next.
Item number 3, 2496BZ, 213 Madison Street, Manhattan.
We heard from the applicant, and they have been thus far unable to supply us with the sign analysis that we asked for last week, or any further evidence of the removal of the brackets. So we'll defer this again till the 29th.
Item number 4, 24503BZ, 16011 Willets Point Boulevard, Queens.
Any questions? Okay.
Item number 5, 24803BZ, 1915 3rd Avenue, Manhattan.
Ready to go on this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Item number 6, 27107BZ, 215 West 23rd Street, Manhattan.
Okay, this was the one that was just a change of operator. Ready to go?
Yes.
Good.
Continued hearing items. Item number 7, 99784BZ, 7908 804 Union Street, Brooklyn.
Well, I just have a couple of comments. I know several of you do as well. I wish that the applicant in this case had done something more than to simply categorically dismiss the opposition's arguments as being without merit and actually address them substantively. I think his failure to do so is simply going to prolong the process unnecessarily, but we'll see if the applicant has something more substantive to say at tomorrow's hearing. Commissioner Hinkson, I know you had some comments on the alternatives that were suggested.
I did. I understood, the issue of putting in an elevator for the cars, but I just felt that their solution was probably not the most optimum, and it took up more space than actually was probably needed. I think it's the eastern wall that is the, I guess, the adjacent wall to the next building. But it seems like they could have put that elevator on that wall had cars come in directly from the street and not necessarily given so much room to having to have maneuverability on that first level. And I also think that putting it on that wall would have probably reduced their cellar usage for cars as well. So it just seemed to me that not that it was artificially designed in a way that would take up more space, but that one could see that if their argument is that it does take up too much space, there were other ways of putting in that elevator to accommodate that. So
I would agree with that. It seems to me that the alternative that was asked to be considered was not really taken seriously, and that in fact they showed the worst possible way of configuring it and the possibility of providing the 14 spaces.
Right.
Commissioner Otley-Brown?
Yes, I think they also could have educated the board as well as the community and furthered their argument by talking about other conversions of pre-61 buildings in that neighborhood that have converted to residential and have not needed to provide the parking. That would have helped their case and helped others to understand.
I would agree. Clearly, this property owner does not have the obligation to provide parking for the neighborhood, for the food co-op, or for anyone else. But yes, I think that's consistent with my first comments that the applicant should have done a more thorough job in refuting the issues raised. So we'll see what they do tomorrow. Any other comments?
No.
Okay. New cases?
New cases. Item number 8, 16993BZ, 246-248 West 88th Street, Manhattan.
Commissioner Montanez, one
Right.
of your least favorite things here. I know.
Right, that they have this note that they will connect the fire alarm system and sprinklers to a central station if required by the BSA, and I just don't like that note. They should just state if it is interconnected and modify the note.
Thank you. We will instruct them to do that. Commissioner Hinkson?
Yeah, if they could just give us a little more detail on any sound attenuation that they have in the ceiling between their space and any residential, that would be helpful. And could they address the issue of getting the CO? They seem to say that they
Okay.
cannot get a CO because the owner in some way can't get it, but, I don't think that that's sufficient.
Okay. Commissioner Otley-Brown?
And I believe the seller shows a massage room is their massage at this location.
Okay, we'll find that out. Anything else on that? Okay. Appeals?
Appeals calendar decision items, item number 9, 10314A, 55 Eckford Street, Brooklyn.
Think we're ready to move on that? There were not any outstanding issues? Everyone okay? Good.
New cases, item number 10, 4914A, 5655 Independence Avenue in the Bronx.
Okay, this is the expanded home for retired priests. Who wants to go first? Commissioner Hinkson?
I just had a question, and I assume that we can act prior to city planning's action.
The special natural area district authorization, I don't think we're required to wait for that. Council, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can act independent of that, correct?
Okay, and then I had no further issue other than to say it's a beautiful spot. I was there the other day, and it's lovely.
It is. Any other comments? Okay. There was an issue raised by staff that I just wanted to point out, and that was whether or not, in addition to doing the general city law waiver, that we also would waive other provisions of Article 3, Chapter 4 pursuant to 7201G. I went back and reviewed the papers, and I believe that they properly asked for that waiver.
Just as some
Counsel?
corrections on the statement.
I'm sorry, Tony, did you want
I'm
to
sorry.
clarify that?
Sorry. There are just some slight modifications to the statement that they'll make with respect to addressing the objections issued by DOB.
Okay.
So they'll issue.
Fine, but we will waive those provisions also as part of the approval on this process. Thank you. Next.
Zoning calendar, item number 11, 21013BZ, 4312 50th Street, Queens.
Questions, issues? Nope.
Item number 12, 3914BZ, 97 Reade Street, Manhattan.
I don't think we were waiting for anything. So, okay.
Continued hearing items, item number 13, 7811BZ, and 33-3712A, 7870 Winchester Boulevard, Queens.
Mercifully, the applicant has sought an adjournment.
Item number 14, 32713BZ, 1504 Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay, this is a 7344 special permit request for a reduction in required parking. We did hear from Councilmember David Greenfield, who I believe is either going to attend or submit testimony. He opposes this application. Commissioners, thoughts, comments? Commissioner Otley-Brown?
I did have a question about the parking demand report. It stated that it needed 190, they need 198 spaces during the midday peak period, and it would be helpful for me if they could clarify how they arrived at that, because I know that they're looking at a number of different sources depending on the use, and they are looking at the ITE manual for retail, they're looking at 6010 Bay Parkway for the medical office, and I'm not quite sure what they're looking for the rest of the building. I believe it's office and not-for-profit. It wasn't clear, and I do know that there are various peak periods that have been assumed for each use, but if they could just walk us through that, that would be helpful.
I think that would be helpful as well. Commissioner Montanez?
Yes, I'd like them to explain how this parking garage works. Is it completely automated? It's an automated attended garage? I didn't really understand how it actually operates, and with that number of spaces. And if they could give an idea of what the parking demand, I think, in the area is. Because I myself have been in that vicinity, and I know that there's a supermarket across the street that
Generates a lot.
generates a lot of traffic.
Good.
So if they could say if there's any on-street parking or and what the parking demand is in the area.
Right, I think in addition to some of the assumptions, like under the ITE manual and things of that sort, that I think we need to be assured that, in this case, that the parking demand study reflects the reality of what's on the ground in that neighborhood. Commissioner Hinkson, anything further?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Item number 15, 2714BZ, 496 Broadway, Manhattan.
Any questions or issues on this?
Well, I just wanted to say they did revise the lot study, and they provided more information as to the remaining lots that are like this lot in terms of being narrow and having less frontage and having smaller floor plates, and talking about the fact that, you know, basically for the retail, they're either going to have retail whether it's legal or not.
Right.
So it certainly went further to make the case that this is unique in that it does not have legal retail on the first floor.
Okay. I didn't see any other open issues other than...
Well, they answered my question about how many of the use group 6 uses were illegal in the area, and their argument is that even though they're illegal, it just shows that a conforming use doesn't make it, and I agree with that.
Okay. If there are no other issues, perhaps we can think about closing this case tomorrow. Okay. Next.
New cases, item number 16, 15311BC, 27-11 30th Avenue, Queens.
Okay, this is a reinstatement. I think all of us had some questions about the issue of whether or not there had been a 2-year or more discontinuance of this use. And, you know, the applicant claims that a BSA resolution demonstrates that the premises have been consistently utilized as an automotive repair station, and I think our resolutions are finely drafted. I don't think it actually proves that point at all. I think the resolution simply said that, you know, this use could take place. But I think we need more in the record to demonstrate that there was no 2-year lapse here. Commissioner Montanez?
Well, I just thought that some of the comments from the community board were to make it a bit more in tune with the residential, or this is not a residential neighborhood, but more in tune with the surrounding area in terms of painting the facade, providing some landscaping, and maybe perhaps installing a new wrought iron fence across the front, if they could address that.
Yes, I think the community board's suggestion should be addressed. Commissioner Hinkson?
Yeah, they just have some inconsistencies in the facts and findings. They talk about that they're going to comply with C14 signage, but this is a C13, so they could look at that. Also, they talk about the repair shop was erected in 1977, which is sort of doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think
Because the first grant was 1958.
the first grant was in 1958, so I think they need to take a look at that. Also, I agree about the discontinuance. They should try to trace it back from the expiration of the 84 grant, which would make a lot of sense.
Okay.
And then also, can they discuss this sort of covered area at the rear that kind of connects their property? Looks like it's connecting to the adjacent property. That's not shown on the plans, but it's, you know, shown pretty clearly in photographs. So if they can address that, that would be great.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown?
I think they said they were going to remove that canopy, however, it is still there when I did go take a site visit.
Still up.
And as
Okay.
to the discontinuance, I don't find that the Department of Finance notice of property value is very helpful, simply because the way in which assessors assess property, they really don't do anything differently if a property is vacant and shuttered versus if it's actually active. All they do is they actually will estimate what the income would be if it were a viable business, and the letter that they generate looks exactly the same. It states that we estimate your value based on income of comparable properties, whether or not the property is active or shuttered. So I think it would probably be helpful if they would look towards the Kohl's book or the Ready book and show us active listings, or perhaps, you know, some sort of
Utility bills.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Item number 17, 28612BZ, 1925 Union Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, Commissioner Montanez?
Yes, I'd like them to show the adjoining conditions and at the rear of the property. I think they're adjacent to some multiple dwellings. I'm not sure how close they are, and I'm concerned about the proximity of this building on the lot line, plus an outdoor terrace, which would be fronting these properties. Also, there's an awful lot of open spaces on the second and third floors, which are not being counted. And I don't really see how reduction of that space could really interfere with the programmatic needs in providing, and perhaps provide some setback to the adjacent residential properties.
Right, I think the applicant mentions that they're not going to have windows that will be fronting on those adjacent residential uses, as if to say that somehow that having the wall of the building very close is therefore okay. I think pulling back from the residential uses is something that we should ask the applicant to consider.
Also, I think the statement said they were going to provide a traffic and parking study, but I didn't see one.
Okay? Other commissioners' comments?
I just had some questions, if you could clarify some of the contamination that he was discussing, that they had done a Phase 1, were they planning on doing a Phase 2?
Right.
How did they determine that they had contamination on the site? And it wasn't clear to me also about generating parking spaces. So they're giving us 18, or is 18 required? It just wasn't clear.
Okay. We'll have them address that. All right, next item.
Item number 18, 298 13 BZ, 1111 131st Street, Queens.
Okay. This is a voluntary addition of, 36 additional parking spaces for a total of 140. Seems to be pretty widely supported. Any comments or questions?
It's pretty straightforward.
I would just like them to ask, to respond to the community board's request that the garbage pickup be from 132nd rather than from 131st, if that's doable. But overall, with regard to the additional parking, I don't think there's any controversy or concern about that. Okay.
Item number 19, 133 134 14 BZ, 135 14A. This is Father Capodanno Boulevard, Doty Avenue, Staten Island, and Sunnymead Village, Staten Island.
Okay, could you call the following item with it as well, please?
Item number 20, 136 to 139 14 BZ, Kiswick Street, Olympia Boulevard, Lincoln Avenue, and Mapleton Avenue, Staten Island.
Okay, this is the new special permit that was created through the efforts of HPD and city planning staff and our staff here. And it's in connection with the Build It Back program, which is designed to help homeowners reconstruct residences that were destroyed or severely damaged by Superstorm Sandy. In most cases, or in many cases, the relief that's sought is for yards, and the level of non-compliance in many of these cases is less than were the prior existing homes. Did commissioners have specific questions or even just any broader concerns that you'd like to discuss or have the agency address?
I had a few items that I thought might be something that had to be corrected in their application.
Okay, and they were with regard to plans or drawings?
Yes, like the submission for Father Capodanno Boulevard on the architect's drawing, when they show the area of the front yard, the second front yard waiver, I really think it should extend the entire length of the building, not just this corner in the back. I didn't understand that. Also, in their statement, they say that there's one parking space per home, and this is lower growth
Density management.
Right. And I think the plans actually show 2 parking spaces per home, so I believe they comply with that. I was wondering if the fire department was going to weigh in on Sunnymead Village,
Because it's not a street?
because it doesn't front on a mapped street,
Right.
and the street in actuality is extremely narrow, unpaved, and even getting a very small car in there is very difficult. Then there was just one of the zoning analysis sheets for Mapleton, I believe, has to be corrected. It shows the sum of the yards is 6 feet 1 inch, and I believe it should be 6 feet 5.
Okay,
So
so
that's
some cleanup on drawings and
Right.
a minor correction on the
Yes.
statement? Anything further, commissioners?
Yeah.
Okay, if our staff can work with the applicants with HPD, and there are no other outstanding issues, if we can close the hearing on this tomorrow, I would like to do that and set a decision date for next week. These people need to get back in their homes.
Absolutely.
Anything further?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That was quick.